Hello students, welcome to my rhetorical analysis lecture. This one is going to be on photographs. And if you remember in those rhetoric video lectures that I did, I told you that there were different purposes for communicating. Some purposes are informing, some to entertain. You might want to persuade someone. You can either persuade someone to think a certain way or to believe a certain thing, or you might want to persuade them to do an action, like maybe buy you lunch. Things like tone, style, use of rhetorical devices. Remember, those are logos, pathos, ethos, and kairos, or timing. Those are all called rhetorical devices, and they can help people communicate effectively. So often, whoever is trying to affect others with the communication, or I guess who is communicating effectively by affecting others with all of these devices, first thing they have to do is consider the audience that they are wanting to talk to. And then they also have to think about the purpose. What is their purpose they're trying to accomplish? When they discover that, or when they, gosh, sorry guys, whenever they determine that, then they can decide what tone, style, and devices that they want to use. So I'm going to call this person who is trying to effectively communicate, I'm just going to call them the author. It just makes it easier. But it could be an actual true author like a writer, or it could be an artist, a photographer, a pastor, a politician, an actor. You trying to talk your parents into believing something or doing something. Okay, when I say author, I just mean whoever is trying to effectively communicate. Okay, so you as the audience, you can decipher what elements the author is using in order to help you figure out what the purpose is, like what are they trying to accomplish, and also who the intended audience is. So by looking at these elements I talked about above, tone, style, rhetorical devices, um, when you do that, we call that rhetorical analysis. Kind of a fancy word, but or fancy couple of words. That's what it means. So rhetorical analysis, you can do it with all sorts of mediums, from a slideshow like what I'm doing, to a billboard on the highway, to a campaign speech. You've got a television show, a radio ad. All sorts of things are rhetorical, and you can analyze those rhetorically. So everything that I mentioned has a purpose and it has an intended audience. Hang on. Okay, so in this case, I'm not talking about billboard ads or commercials. I'm talking about photographs, pictures. So below are going to be a group of pictures in the slides below. They're all taking of the same man, but they're taken by 6 different photographers. And so what happened was each photographer was told something different about the man, about who he was, and these photographers all try to capture kind of that essence of who the man is according to how, they believe. So the man's wearing the same clothes for each photographer, and there are 2 different types of rhetoric going on here. So you have the man who's trying to tell the photographer what kind of person he is. He informs them, he acts certain ways, that is rhetoric. He's effectively communicating to the photographer who he is as a person. And then the photographers are going to photograph what they think he is so that the audience or the person viewing the photo can see that. So the photographers are trying to communicate through photos who the man is based on what they know or they've been told. And just remember, persuasion doesn't have to be about getting someone to do something, any sort of action. It doesn't have to be any action at all. Usually, or not usually, but often, it's trying to get someone to believe something as simple as a certain piece of information. So I've got 1 man, 6 people. So there are 6 different photos of the man I'm going to be showing you. And each photographer thought the man was a certain type of person, and they photographed him with that in mind. So whatever they were told, they tried to get that out in the photos they took of him. The 6 different types are a self-made millionaire, a psychic, a lifesaver that literally saves someone's life, an ex-convict, ex-prisoner, someone who's been in prison, a fisherman, an alcoholic. Oh, and that was it. Sorry. So those are the 6. So I want you to try and use rhetorical analysis, looking at all of those things we talked about, tone, style, to see if you can figure out which persona the photographer is capturing. And I'm going to do the first one just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. I just want you to remember that rhetorical analysis is a little bit different with pictures than with words, like a book or an article. But I think it's a simple place to start. So, when you're reading, you have to look at the sentence structure the author is using and the type of font and the words they're using, whether they're common everyday words or, fancy long words. With a photo, you're just looking at an image. And you still can look at the tone. Images definitely have tones to them. So what tone is the photographer trying to set? A serious tone, a happy, a sad, all sorts of different tones, maybe a scary. And then how are they trying to capture the man's face? Because we're looking at a person, right? So we're going to think of what kind of image they're trying to portray in the man's face. A mean face, maybe a funny face, maybe a lovable face, maybe a face only a mother could love. How do these things lead you to believe that the man is a certain type of person, like the self-made millionaire, ex-con, etc.? Okay, so with this first picture, I'm guessing that he is a psychic, that he told this photographer that he was a psychic, and I'm going to explain a little bit why I think that. So the first thing that I noticed in the picture was that there was an empty chair beside him. And I'm thinking the chair did not get there by accident. It was put there for a reason. The photographer had to have known it was there, either left it there or put it there on purpose. So why is that chair there? Maybe, it's representing that someone that the psychic would sit with. They often sit with people to give them advice or, to tell their fortune or whatever they do. So maybe it's a client or customer who's looking for help. Maybe it's a friend asking for advice that the chair is for. Maybe there's someone already sitting there that we can't see, and the psychic can see the person. I don't know. So it also seems to me that the man's eyes, if you look at them, they're focused on something, maybe the future, maybe into my soul, maybe the next set of lottery numbers so he can be a millionaire. So the tone that I would pick for this would be thoughtful. He looks like he's deep in thought, but he doesn't look worried. So he doesn't look like he's thinking so hard that, he's worried about it. Okay, so here is the next picture, and I'm going to let you decide out of the remaining 5 of what you think it is. Remember, it was an ex-convict, an alcoholic, a self-made millionaire. Well, I'll list them all because I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have them on the quiz. Okay, there's another photo. And there's one. And I think we have one more. Yes, so that is the last photo. So let's look at how you did. Let's look at the correct answers in the order that the photographs were. The first one was the psychic, so I knew that one. Then the next one was the ex-convict, ex-prisoner, the lifesaver, the self-made millionaire, the alcoholic, and the fisherman. For me, the 2 hard ones were the lifesaver and the self-made millionaire. I almost thought those might have been switched, and I can explain the reasons when we zoom, but that was just kind of my guess. So some of the pictures might have been tough to tell which one was which. Like I had a problem with the millionaire and lifesaver, but still they're all different. They're obviously different from one another. And once you start analyzing and really looking at them closer, you can tell the differences. Sorry, I'm trying to turn that notification off. I can't figure out how to do that. So as far as rhetorical devices go, I would say here in the photos that we looked at, that pathos or emotion is what's being used. And remember that logos can be used in a picture logos is going to have like pie charts or graphs or any kind of facts or data. And then some pictures also have ethos, right? If you think of an ad with a doctor holding a brand of aspirin or cough syrup in a picture in a magazine, that's going to be using ethos. It's kind of using the credibility factor of the doctor. But for these photos here of the man, I'm thinking only pathos is being used as far as I can tell. Now, I do want you to look at the video that this came from. It's just a really interesting video and it's short.
You're about to meet Michael. He lives fast as a self-made millionaire.
You didn't have to dress up. It's all right.
You're going to photograph Michael. He's actually saved somebody's life. Michael is an ex-inmate. He's a commercial fisherman. Michael claims to be psychic.
Nice to meet you.
Michael's a former alcoholic. Here's your camera. I would like you to flesh out the essence of who he is.
What would you like out of this? What would you like the photograph to say about you?
Do you find that being a psychic impacts much on your day-to-day life?
I can see this is emotional for you.
Like to get to know the person. You've only got 10 minutes, right?
I think you're a guy that's put yourself out there. You're not hiding anything. My plan was to find out about whoever it was and to try and get that. And what I learned from him is he's incredibly brave.
It was really intense. Pull this shirt out. Sorry.
I wanted to see the nature of the person, which then present a challenge. How do you portray him as a fisherman?
That's perfect.
He's a self-made millionaire and sort of a little bit intimidating. I wasn't going for a beautiful, nice, perfectly lit portrait.
I just want to try bring out something of who you are. I think that you just treat people like they're everyday people, like everybody is. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
I hope I've got that guy's bravery on film.
So it was a very intimidating environment.
Can't see your work.
I like that empty chair next to it too.
Because it's a totally different person.
Almost looks like 6 different people. So not everything I told you today was true. I'm not a fisherman. I am not an alcoholic. The GFC hit me hard, but I've never been a millionaire. Never been in prison. I am a Bondi lifesaver, but the story we talked about never did that. Not psychic. Can barely spell it.
Before I knew there were different character features, I thought, that's really strange. These don't look like portraits of the character I thought you were. You always got your own preconceptions and you've got your ideas.
It pushed me into a position and a space that I wouldn't normally be in.
You have to dig a lot deeper. It means you've got to be, I think, you're a lot more creative to work out how you're going to play things.
Okay, done with that. All right, so you've probably heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, super common saying. Just remember that the photographer gets to choose which words are being used with the picture. So I think at the end of that film clip, it said something about it's the person behind the camera, not in front of the camera, that kind of gets, the message out. But I will say, in this case at least, the person affected how the photographer did get that picture out, because the photographer did it based on what they believed the man to be. So photographs, just like words, written words, spoken words, can alter a person's thoughts, beliefs, and sometimes even action. And this is rhetoric. So thank you for listening and watching this, and we'll do the next video on rhetoric pretty soon.